it still is really, I think, fragmented, so I think that's a good word. So I would like you to address, or all three of you to address those two items.
Okay, so I'll just do a quick overview of Redwood Connect, which was an effort to do a demand side and a supply side survey in all the rural counties, in all the communities in all the rural counties, Humboldt, Del Norte, Mendocino, and Trinity, with the belief that with the information about demand, who wants services out there, and a mapping of the supply, that there could be pressure put on suppliers and telecom companies in particular to provide more service in more communities. Now, let's be real, there's low-hanging fruit all the way to communities that will be the hardest to serve. That being said, with the information was a good place to start. And if for no other reason, it is the partnership that was created by doing that project with the Emerging Technologies Fund at the state level, who matched local money to make that project happen, who brought CPUC to the table because they have a $100 million infrastructure fund for broadband, and the application process is now. And CPUC, Rochelle Chong, called Redwood Connect, called us and said, we really, really want applications from your region for broadband infrastructure for your hardest to serve communities. And we want you to start with your unserved communities and then move to your underserved communities. So they were really focusing on the hardest to serve communities. Rochelle Chong had no reason to call us other than the fact that we raised the visibility of our region through Redwood Connect. What we said to Rochelle Chong was, one, that service providers may or may not be interested, so how do we put pressure on them? And two, we may not have one big project, we may have multiple small projects because a rural area has very small communities. And the CPUC actually responded to us and said, you do what you need to do. Send us an aggregated application if that's what it takes. We will help put pressure on the large telecom providers from the state level. We will speed up the permitting processes because also on the coast you have the overlay of how many different players you have in order to get some of those processes speeded up. And the applications with CPUC for the $100 million, that's a 2-year fund, and will actually spend out, are due June 1. And I know that there are some communities, and I wish I had more details, that in Mendocino County who are going to end up getting broadband who do not have it now through that process. Because you have very active wireless providers and service providers, and you have some low-hanging fruit where we're able to get, I don't know who you have here, Verizon or whoever your service provider is, to actually pick those off at the request of and with the pressure from the state level with CPUC. So is it going to fix everybody? Not in the first round. Oh, I'll tell you one more thing, that as a result of that Redwood Connect project, there's a piece of legislation pending and it passed the Senate. It's going to go to the House, which will allow public utility providers and public services providers who have a certain category to begin providing broadband. Because in many places, there isn't a service provider and there's no appropriate governmental entity to cover and actually provide broadband services. But here you might have a utility district who has the ability to bill if they actually had the ability, the legal right in California to provide broadband services, which they do not now. So as a result of Redwood Connect, up here on the coast with all these little communities, there's legislation pending to get these utility districts to be able to actually provide broadband to their constituencies. And that will also spread the number of people who might be able to serve broadband in our communities. So I would tell you there is a lot happening. It's another one of those things where because we have a huge geography, it is really hard to get the word out everywhere all the time. And we need to continue to work on letting people know that things are happening, positive things are happening. So I would say that. I just have one other thing because we're running out of time, but I would just say that I work in a lot of rural communities. Every one of them thinks that it can't do anything, that it has a monumental problem that it has to overcome before it can start economic development. But I have to point out that there are private sector businesses out there who are building your economy as we sit here right now. Despite the water problem, despite the broadband problem, they are finding ways to make a living here, to hire employees here, to tap into global marketplaces, and to make money. if you knew who they were and could ask them, what can we do to help? Those are the places that give you leverage to actually make something happen in the private sector, despite the fact you have these momentous problems around these other issues, and will help your community move forward as you are moving on a parallel track to try to overcome those things that seem like they're totally in the way of economic development, but they do not need to be in the way. They can run a parallel track with building your businesses here. Just want to take one business, just because knowing your businesses can help encourage you that you could do great things. There's a business in Compchi their business is continuing education for nurses. And that's what they do for a living, is set up continuing education for nurses around the state and around the nation. That's all they do out of Compchi. And so when you think about that, and you think about how can we grow that business and that opportunity here to help support our local diversified healthcare and to bring new dollars in, it's not about water. It's not about water. I can tell you it's not about water. But so there are opportunities if you can find those businesses, bring them together and say, look, we're in a partnership here, not what can we do to help. Sometimes